Hey, what's up, good people? Hey, if you're new to the page, hit the like, subscribe, notification bell. Don't fall for any spam in the comment section. And lastly, anything I say is not a suggestion for you to buy, hold, or sell. Let's get right into it. See there? Hey, a lot to cover. I'm going to try to timestamp this. Give me a little while to timestamp it, but you could always feel free to rewind. Listen, there's a lot going on today, so I'm going to kind of bounce around and just hit you with as much information as possible. I'm going to talk about Sam Bankman-Fried, everything that's going on there. Tesla's tanking. The market started out green, and then it started to tank. And then somewhere down here, I'm going to talk about, of course, Moo and the 20 free stock. Let's get right into it. So, pre-markets, the Dow was up 800 points, more than 800 points, when the CPI data came out. When the consumer price index numbers came out, it was up. But if you look at the indices right now, you could clearly see that the Dow is only up 99 points, S&P 30, and the NASDAQ 117. And that's because the market still is looking at what the Fed will do. Now, the numbers came out and they were good, but they were not that good. It wasn't that inflation was tanking. It was just that inflation was really cooling off, all right? It's just cooling off. Shelter was still hot, and that is a major problem. Used cars dropped. Previously, the CPI number was 7.7. It was up 0.1 versus 0.3, all right? CPI came out at 7.1 versus 7.3, right? So we expected 7.3. There was a beat by 7.1. Year over year, CPI was 6.0 versus 6.1. So those are important numbers to remember. And we have to understand how CPI is weighted, all right? So as we could see, like I said, the indices are down from the highs. Even after opening bell, we were up over 750 points, I believe, and now it's selling off. And in my morning meeting live with the CPI numbers, I stated then, remember, just because, and when I stated this, the market was up 700 points positive. I says, remember, we've been through this before. Don't get excited like this is how it's going to end. Watch the market by afternoon and then watch it by closing bell, because it could be a different story. All right, let me bounce around. Tesla is selling off. Tesla is having problems with production in their Shanghai because of COVID. And, President Xi relaxed his COVID because of political pressure. They were protesting, and now the cases are ramping up. I absolutely think the cases are going to ramp up even higher because they've been locked up. Remember how we were? We were locked up, and we wanted to get out at any cost. And so because of their zero COVID policies, I personally would be thinking, about shorting some of the Chinese stock, the Baidus, the Babas, the Neos. I would personally be thinking about doing puts on them. All right. So that was it. Let's look at this, though, one more time. We can see down 3.5% for the week, down over 7%. But for the month, we're down 15% on Tesla, and we're down almost 25% in the last 6 months. Let's look at year to date. It's almost 60% year to date. And now we see that, for those of us that waited to buy Tesla, remember when people were calling me insane because I said I wouldn't buy it until it fell under 185? Well, now we're at 162. and we haven't hit the hard, deep recession yet. So here we are, good people. For those of you that waited, kudos to you. All right. And if you wanted to start DCAing in now at these prices, you're doing better than the people that bought it at 200, 300, and 400. All right. Let's look at the crypto bubbles. This is what's happening with the crypto bubbles. Not much. You see mixed red and green. And I'm going to bounce to my phone to show you some of the majors. As you can see, Bitcoin is actually up. Ethereum up, Solana, Polygon, Cardano, those are up quite nicely. So we got a lot going on with that, all right? So let's go to what's happening. Man, it's so much happening, so much happening. So we had the political theater on the Hill with Maxine Waters at the helm, and they were asking questions to the new CEO of FTX. He was appointed CEO. He actually, for those of you that are old enough to remember, he actually handled the Enron case. Okay, so they appoint a new CEO and appoint new staff to go through the records. And he said he'd never seen anything this bad. It would make Bernie Madoff blush. And it was so much. I took a few notes here, so forgive me if I can't understand my own notes, all right? Of course, Sam will be extradited to New York. And the timing of this, which I'll play a video, is insane. There's dirt on the hands of the Bohemian governments, the Bahamas, and the United States, if you ask me, right? It was political theater. You had some of the people asking us questions about Dogecoin that, let's say a Dogecoin is worth $100. Okay, this is what I mean about people that don't have a clue about crypto, drilling people like this. Now they're drilling the guy that's trying to clean things up, right? And so they're not drilling Sam Bankman-Fried, right? Sam Bankman-Fried in the same time period releases what he was going to say. So he releases it. So here's the problem with Sam Bankman-Fried. He was an elitist, good people. He was a straight elitist. And what I mean by elitist, mental elitist. He literally thinks he's smarter than everybody else. He's one of those people that loves to hear himself talk, and he thinks he's smart. He actually always talks condescending if you really think about it. And he perjured himself time after time after time when he went on this talking tour, incriminating himself, perjuring himself. And now, just before he gets ready to talk on the Hill, he gets picked up by the Bohemian government to be extradited to the United States. So now, who was in charge of the timing? Was it the Bohemian government or was it the United States? We know that he gave money to the Democratic Party. That was shown. But out of his mouth, he said he gave money to the Republican Party, dark, so you couldn't see it. So you be the judge of that. Me, for one, I believe it. All right. I don't believe everything this guy lies like he lies like the wind blows. All right. So he's an elitist. He thinks we're idiots, and he's talking to people and he says, I'm just going to tell them anything and they're going to believe it. And he's so dumb, he's incriminating himself. And I know some of you over religious people will say, oh, you shouldn't call a man a dumb or an idiot, without just cause. Well, like I was saying, this idiot is an elitist and he stole a lot of money and he's going to get, I believe, what he deserves. Now, this could take years for him to actually wound up on United States soil. As a matter of fact, let me play this clip about the timing. And then while they were wrapping up this dog and pony show, then we brought our case against him. All right, so listen to this real short.
FTX withdrawals were halted. On November 9th, Mr. Bankman-Fried sent an email to the Attorney General of the Bahamas saying the Bahamian customers could make withdrawals as they had, quote, segregated funds for all Bahamian customers, end quote, despite his awareness of FTX's withdrawal halt. And then on November 10th, 2 days after withdrawals were halted, nearly $100 million in cryptocurrency was withdrawn by those, quote, asserting to be Bahamanian customers. And then, quite conveniently for Mr. Bankman-Fried's counsel, he is arrested right before he was due to provide hours' worth of sworn testimony to Congress. Mr. Ray, do we have your commitment that as you continue to unravel this ball of yarn and pull on these relative threads here, that if you find any evidence of improper collusion between Mr. Bankman-Fried and any authorities in the Bahamas or elsewhere, that you will make that known to us?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So then we find out that after the Chapter 11 proceedings have already begun, meaning that things are supposed to be froze, Sam Bankman-Fried, along with the Bohemian government, freezes the U.S. accounts and let over $100 million get withdrawn from FTX, but only for the Bohemian people, amounting to over $100 million. It was assisted by ex-employees working with the Bohemian government. Remember when that hack came about? It wasn't a hack. It was the Bohemian government being gangster and taking their money for their employees. To be honest with you, I'm not mad at the Bohemian government. Our government should have did the same thing here in the U.S. They were protecting their constituents. Is that fair? Heck no, it's not fair. What about us here in the United States? This whole thing is bogus. You just cannot make this stuff up. Take a listen.
Whether, in fact, assets were moved out after the bankruptcy.
Yes, clearly there was assets moved out after the bankruptcy.
And do you know whether or not that was an actual hack, or was this done, as has been reported, at the direction of the Bahamian authorities?
It was both.
It was both. And so some was done. Some was done as a result of a hack. Some was done as a result of the request of the Bahamian authorities.
Yes, that's right.
And do you have indication as to why the Bahamian authorities made that request?
Well, it wasn't a request. They just took it.
The Bahamian authorities took the funds that were at FTX
Yes.
through their own action. Was no action required by FTX employees? Maybe you could provide just a little color.
They were aided by the ex-employees, yes.
They were aided by former employees
Yes,
of FTX.
Yes, Mr. Wang and Mr. Fried.
Is it in the eyes of the Bahamian authorities, did this to protect clients and creditors? Do you have insight into the motivation behind this action?
Unlike the Chapter 11 process, there's no transparency in the process in the Bahamians, and we've repeatedly asked them for clarity about what they've been doing, and we've been shut down on that.
So from you've requested insight as to why this was done from the Bahamian authorities, and the Bahamian authorities, their reply to you was that they did not reply, or they replied and it was unsatisfactory?
They put out statements that it was in the interest of Bahamian creditors, although our view is that it violated the automatic stay in bankruptcy.
There was no request. They just took it. You can't make this stuff up, good people. You cannot make this stuff up. Listen, let's keep it moving. Hey, but first, you want 20 free stock? You want 10 free stock with just $100? If you got $1,000, 20 free stock, somebody already got $150 stock. Hey, go ahead and download my top link below, get the 10 free stock, and then they put you in a pot. You can also win an extra $60K. And they are regulated. They are regulated by the SEC. And so open one for you, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your kids. Just open up, get all of the free stuff. And not only that, let's just get ready to make some money, get ready to make some of our money back. So while this was also going on, then the United States filed their charges.
As alleged in our complaint, starting in 2019 and continuing through November 2022, Bankman-Fried raised more than $1.8 billion from equity investors on the basis of lies. You see, FTX operated behind a veneer of legitimacy that Bankman-Fried created by, among other things, repeatedly touting to investors FTX's top-notch automated risk controls that he claimed protected customer assets, and by repeatedly claiming that those assets were at all times safe, segregated, and secure. But as we allege in our complaint, that veneer wasn't just thin, it was also fraudulent. Because in reality, from FTX's inception in 2019, Bankman-Fried began secretly and improperly diverting FTX customer funds to his crypto hedge fund, Alameda Research. And as alleged in our complaint, he then misused those funds to make undisclosed venture investments, lavish real estate purchases, and large political donations. Bankman-Fried's claims about FTX's sophisticated risk controls and other customer protections were simply bogus. Similarly, his representations to FTX investors and trading customers concerning Alameda were also part of that carefully crafted veneer and were similarly false and misleading. He frequently claimed that Alameda was just another customer with no special privileges at FTX. But in truth, Bankman-Fried directed that Alameda be exempt from the very risk management measures that he touted to FTX investors and to its customers. He also provided Alameda a virtually unlimited line of credit funded by FTX customers. And he also diverted billions of dollars in customer funds from FTX to Alameda. Bankman-Fried's entire house of cards started to crumble as crypto asset prices plummeted in May of 2022, and as Alameda's lenders demanded repayment on billions of dollars in loans. But to continue propping up his empire, we allege that Bankman-Fried diverted billions more in FTX customer assets to Alameda, even as it was increasingly clear that Alameda and FTX could not make those customers whole. In fact, through the summer of 2022, he diverted hundreds of millions more in FTX customer funds to Alameda, which he then used for additional venture investments and for loans to himself and to other FTX executives. All the while, he continued to make misleading statements to investors about FTX's financial condition and about its risk management. And even in November 2022, faced with billions of dollars in customer withdrawal requests that FTX could not fulfill, Bankman-Fried misled investors from whom he sought still more money to plug the multi-billion-dollar holes that he had created. His brazen multi-year scheme finally came to an end when FTX, Alameda, and their tangled web of affiliates filed for bankruptcy on November 11, 2022. That collapse has had far-reaching consequences for FTX customers, for its investors, and for its counterparties. And our investigation into those consequences, into those individuals and entities involved, remains ongoing.
Good afternoon. I'm Acting Director Gretchen Lowe, Acting Director of the Division of Enforcement at the CFTC. Gretchen Lowe, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. Today, the CFTC filed a complaint against Sam Bankman-Fried and his companies, FTX and Alameda, charging a fraudulent scheme that dates back to the launch of FTX.com exchange in May 2019. The CFTC's complaint specifically charges defendants with fraud by misappropriation of customer funds, as well as false statements to the public, customers, investors, and Congress about the handling and security of those funds. As alleged, there are over $8 billion in customer losses that we've ascertained as of today. The rippling consequences of defendants' fraud are vast and have done significant damage to the integrity of the evolving digital asset market. The CFTC charges that at Bankman-Fried's direction, FTX customer deposits intended to be used to trade digital asset commodity futures, swaps, and other products were not appropriately segregated by FTX. Instead, customer funds were held in Alameda accounts where they were commingled and misappropriated for a variety of unauthorized purposes, such as use in high-risk investments and other digital asset enterprises, political contributions, and to purchase luxury real estate. As charged, the fraudulent use of customer funds by Bankman-Fried and his companies were inconsistent with the touted FTX terms of service and contrary to numerous public statements made by Bankman-Fried. The CFTC also charges that defendants created features in the underlying code for FTX that allowed Alameda to have essentially an unlimited line of credit on the exchange. Defendants also provided Alameda with unfair trading advantages, including quicker execution times and an exemption from FTX's auto liquidation risk management process. This massive and costly fraud was in the connection with commodities interstate commerce, and as alleged, including Bitcoin, Ether, and Tether, which are the most widely traded digital assets in the world. Bitcoin and Ether also underlie derivatives contracts on CFTC-designated exchanges. Lastly, standing here today with the U.S. Attorney's Office at the Southern District, FBI, and the SEC represents yet another stellar example of the importance of federal regulators and federal criminal authorities working collaboratively and effectively with each other to achieve justice. The teams worked quickly and tirelessly to obtain compelling evidence and to begin to hold those responsible for the FTX collapse accountable, all within a very short time frame. Thank you to all at the SDNY, FBI, and SEC for your cooperation. And thank you to the CFTC team.
Now, let's wrap it up. Tomorrow, we know the FOMC meeting is coming. We know that inflation is cooling off, but not in all sectors. It didn't drop, it just cooled off. We know that the market rallied more than 700 points and gave it all back at the time. We have 1 hour to close and bail at the time that I'm shooting this, okay? So we don't know where the indices are going to end up. We do know that the market is still worried about what Jerome Powell is going to do tomorrow in the FOMC meeting. Is he going up 75 basis points, 50? I believe he's going up 50 basis points. But then when we come to crypto, here's what I want you to see. The market rallied and crypto rallied. The reason why I'm not currently trading in crypto right now, not even DCAing, is because I believe that even if Jerome Powell tomorrow says, hey, we're going up 25 basis points, only 25 basis points, the market will rally again. I believe the market will rally over 1,000 points based on that news. I do. And I think crypto will rally. But I also still firmly believe that in the first half of 2023, we have another leg down. We're going to blow past the lows of June and all of that. And I believe, me personally, and I probably stand alone, that crypto will find a new low. I believe that Bitcoin will come down to the 1,400. And I believe that this FUD with crypto is not over. But I also believe in crypto long term. I absolutely believe in the stock market long term. And I believe that the first half of 2023 will be a time to accumulate. Accumulate what? Stocks, mostly stocks and crypto. I would not be more, me personally, I would not be more than 20%, even if you're young, crypto. I would be, even if you're young, I would be minimally 75% stocks. That's just me. Okay. Now you may say, hey, I'm all crypto. God bless you, but I'm just saying based on what I see. All right. Make sure you check out those links below. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. I'm going to make sure and timestamp it. I know it's a lot of information. There's a lot more on Sam Bankman that I could play, but I don't want this video to be, 3 hours long. All right. If this has helped you, please leave me a comment. Please share this information. Please download the link, get the free stuff, but more importantly, follow us on this journey so we can make money. All right. Live, love, laugh, and learn.